Welcome, closers. We are going live with this month's Crowdcast. Super excited about this interviewing Matthew of Gkhouses. This is an exciting. Matt, what's interesting about your story is that I find relatable, right? This is not the story of a guy from Wall Street that has a private equity hedge fund backing him and that he's never done the mom and pop thing. You are a true operator that started from the ground, day one, story we're all familiar with, but now has a really aggressive BHAG. And just to define what that term is, a BHAG, a big, hairy, a strategic statement similar to a vision created to focus on a single medium long-term organization-wide goal, which is audacious, likely to be questionable but not regarded. And the BHAG GK is what? What is the internal BHAG?
So we've decided that we'd like to get to 25,000 occupied houses. And we'd like to do that. We started that goal about 2.5 or 3 years ago. And so now we have about 7.5 years to accomplish that goal.
Wow. Ballsy. So before we go more into the BHAG and the story, I want to rewind. I want to go back early on. So starting off on the early days, I know you studied entrepreneurship at the University of Alabama, kind of cut your teeth early on selling Amway, worked for a construction company briefly, got into house flipping. Guys, this is a common story we can probably all identify with. Use the proceeds from the first transaction to quit your job. Start with Magnolia Partners, working with FIB, home investors. How do we get from there to this BHAG of managing 25,000 properties?
Yeah.
Give me some of the backstory.
I'm an operator, just like you said. I mean, I'm an operator, and so I have owners that as big as we are now, and we're not huge, but I have owners that still have my cell phone number and tenants that still call me and have my cell phone
nice
number. So when I got out of college, I started flipping houses. I had a day job, and at nights and on the weekends, I was fixing up houses and trying to sell them. And I sold my first house and made enough money, made the same amount of money that I made in 6 months on my job. And so I said, hey, I studied entrepreneurship. This is a good way to just get started. And I literally just quit my job and said, hey, I bought myself 6 months. I can always go find another job. And that's what I did. So I flipped houses for about 4.5 years. I got out of college in 2002, started buying and selling houses in 2004. And of course, if you count 4.5 years from 2004, everybody kind of knows what happened. The market crashed. I was in the process of trying to resell about 30 different houses and decided, as you know, we couldn't sell them. And then all of a sudden we found ourselves in the management business. So building a management business off the bat was not like some strategic initiative. It's not some grand plan.
It never is.
Yeah, right.
It never is. It's always the afterthought, right?
I always swore I'd never do two things back when I was, in my 20s and knew it all. I swore I was never going to be a real estate agent, which I am today. And I swore I was never going to be a property manager. And so now today I'm both of those.
Nice. I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's something that a lot of people back into in one way or another. So let's go back to the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal. This is honestly why we're having this conversation. I know about you, your story, and can distinguish what you're doing from some other companies not because you've done it, because you don't currently manage 25,000 rental properties, but you have set the vision and you're talking about it. So why have a BHAG? Why talk about it? How is this not setting yourself up for disappointment? How is this not ego? How can you justify taking on this gigantic, borderline impossible vision? Walk me through that.
And it could be that. I mean, that's part of the risk that you take when you set a BHAG is, it could be a huge disappointment and it could be a fall flat on your face. But I really believe that if we set a vision and we get part of setting a vision is to get the right people excited about it. And we have a whole team of people that are excited about this 25,000 house goal. If we're able to set a vision, I mean, and we think about it and talk about it and we write it down daily here at Gkhouses, and we everything we do is revolves around the 25,000 house mark. It's amazing. When we first got started, we didn't have a clue how we were going to solve it. But as we've gone down this road and thought more and more, I mean, things start to manifest themselves where we're starting to actually see how something like this is possible. And we're starting to see, hey, you know, if this works out and this works out, then, you know, we could double in size. And so I think part of setting it is just getting your mind in motion on figuring out ways. And it's amazing once we've started to kind of focus on that, how certain things have fallen into place. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you that the journey's been perfect, because it has not. It continues to be not perfect. Even this week, we lost, you know, a big owner for us. But one of the things that keeps us excited, even when we lose big owners, is, hey, we're focused on the 25,000. If I was talking to a guy today and I said, would I be worried about this owner if I managed 25,000 houses? Absolutely not. So why am I going to worry about this owner firing me today, when, to be honest, he or she was probably not the right fit for us in the first place. And so, you know, for us to set a BHAG, it certainly gets people excited. It gets people engaged. I will tell you, my team probably would not be here without the BHAG. We have a motto here that we say, we don't hire property managers. And, you know, I hope I don't offend anybody by saying this, but traditionally property management has been a dropout industry. I mean, hey, look at me. I was dropping out of house flipping. And so we want to go engage the people that weren't going to be property managers to come in and say, hey, here's an industry that is in need of that just reeks of an opportunity. And that's what we're selling to the people that are coming to work with us.
Totally makes sense. So you started with end in mind. You're clearly playing the long game. I like the quote that life will pay you whatever price you ask of it. You used the word manifest a moment ago. I think that's a good way to think about things. When you commit to the long-term vision and you reorient everything in light of that, it really does change your day-to-day operating decisions. You talked about not having the team without the vision. And let's start there, because the truth is, when somebody comes to me and they say they want to grow, I can talk tactics and strategies that can absolutely move the needle. But I personally, I don't have a tactic or a strategy to get to 25,000 doors. The only tactic and strategy, at least the few that we can identify, are vision and people. Without vision and people, there's no lead gen source, there's no automation campaign that's going to get you there. So let's start talking, going into that. Talk to me about the grinder. Talk to me about the 25K club, fire seeds. Talk to me about how you're building a world-class team that you must have. It's not a luxury. You have to have a world-class team in place to hit the BHAG. How are you going to make that happen?
If you're going to go fast, you need I can't make every decision. And so finding the right people that can make decisions and then empowering them to make those decisions. I mean, that's kind of that's the secret sauce of our business. And we're very transparent about that. I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody else can execute on that, then they're going to have a very successful business. Right. So the grinder is something that we are infatuated with. It's kind of something that we created out of a book. So I want to give credit to the book. It's called, the book everyone needs to read on hiring is called WHO, W-H-O, and it's called Solving Your Number One. Oh, good. There you go. Okay, good.
Yeah, baby. Written by the son of the guy that wrote Top Grading. Yeah. Absolutely world-class stuff.
And we started out basically just using that as a guide and following it step by step as we created the grinder. Now, we've taken Who and kind of changed it as we've gone down that path. But I mean, to me, you know, our interview process, the Who interview process, has 4 steps. The first one's the phone interview, and this is a numbers game. Like, you need to just create, just like with owners and selling them, you need to create tons of leads, tons of opportunities, and then you also need to create a consistent way to interview them and to know what you're looking for. So to me, we know what we're looking for, and the phone interview is a great way. I mean, if somebody, probably only about 10 to 15% of our applicants even pass the phone interview. Because in the phone interview, I'm looking for somebody with direction. I'm looking for somebody that knows themselves. I'm looking for somebody that's humble. And then I'm looking for somebody with a track record of success. And there's literally 4 questions to the interview, and somebody has to nail all those 4 questions for us to even spend, because the second step in that process is to spend anywhere from 2 to 3. We've spent as much as 4 to 5 hours hiring a director of finance. We're going to spend a lot of time. And so you need to be very, very critical on the front end of, hey, I'm about to invest 3 hours in this person, and I'm not even going to let somebody through that's in the gray. I want somebody that's red hot, that I'm excited about meeting with. And then we literally just follow those steps. The second interview, the face-to-face interview, the third interview, we changed it a little bit for us because culture is so important. We have 5 culture kind of ideals that we grade everybody against. It's team, integrity, discipline, hard work, excellence, and entrepreneurial spirit. So we literally created our own questions. We asked them over lunch. We put them in situations, and like one of the situations was if they knew I was stealing money, but I had a way to pay it back from maybe a trust account, how would they handle that? And then, you know, they're kind of put in that awkward position of making, you know, do I stick with the team or do I have integrity? And so we're looking for certain types of people that answer those questions. And then the last part of that book is the reference check. We've had people get through all 3 steps and then call in their references. The references are the references I want to talk to. So during that, you know, that long second interview, I mean, I'm writing people's names. I'm asking, who'd you hang out with most while you were at work? You know, what was your boss's name? What was his boss's name? And so I'm writing those down, and I want to find out, hey, do these people have a proven track record for success? Our team right now, I cannot tell you how just amazing they are. I don't work that much in the business, which allows me to work on the business. And a lot of entrepreneurs just are dying to get to that point. But if you are going to get to that point, you need to go out and be very strategic about hiring a team. And frankly, and you know this because we almost had a big issue right before getting cranked up. You know, I'm not the IT guy here. I'm not the best in all these situations. And being willing and be humble enough to know there's people that are better than me at selling. There's, you know, part of the reason I'm the CEO or the head of this thing is just because I got here first. A lot of these people are much better, more equipped, are going to be, when they're 37 years old like I am, they're going to be way past what I'm doing.
So I got 2 questions for you. The first is results. How many people have you fired or have quit after going through this wonderful sounding process?
So the book claims a 90% success rate. And I would say that is very accurate. We have let go of 1 person. Nobody is left that's gone through the grinder, officially gone through the grinder. We had to let go of 1 person. And what I would say is this person's situation changed, and it created a different kind of, this person, the grinder was not the problem. It was this person's situation changed over the course of a year. So to have a 90% success rate with hiring is an incredible accomplishment.
Well, I think to have a 90% success rate within the context of the type of people you're trying to hire, entrepreneurial, hustlers, et cetera. So what's interesting about this is that when I hear you describing this process, putting myself in a traditional small business owner's shoes, I hear great outcome, but I also hear giant hassle. And one of the problems with small businesses that don't have that vision in place is that they don't have the horsepower to benefit from the leverage. Yeah. In your situation, Where were you at in the business cycle? Did you have the vision in place before or after you committed to this disciplined process of the grinder that clearly is taking up a fair bit of time?
You know, I would say, and this is a great question, our vision has gotten clearer and clearer the longer we've done this. So when we first started with the kind of BHAG 10 years ago, the grinder didn't really exist. And so, you know, to me, the grinder becomes part of, once you set that BHAG, the grinder kind of manifested itself. And we said, hey, this works.
Yeah.
And then again, things become clearer and clearer. And I think I'm a very practical person.
I like it.
I feel like I'm very objective in those situations. And so setting that type of goal for me felt really, really, really weird. But I'm a disciple of Jim Collins, which is where BHAG comes from. And that's right. And so I said, look, he says to do it, so I'm just going to do it. And then we're going to see what happens. And what I will tell you is it has been powerful. It is something you can rally your troops around. It is absolutely something you can get focused on. And one of the things I think people do is they set this BHAG and then they allow themselves to forget about it. You know, they get a year down the road and then they set a new BHAG and they set a new BHAG. Well, this one, you know, and they basically start to reduce their goals to the size of what they think they can accomplish. I think that's
the difference between talking about it publicly. This is on video. It's
when
recorded.
I saw the email go out about me, I was like, this is not the same guy I know. Okay.
Yeah.
Jim is an incredible marketer. But listen, all we are is very disciplined through the process. You know, one of our core values is discipline, hard work. And so literally, if you came into our office, just like the grinder, our work process, we call it the grind. And we say, or a grind, and we say, you know, we're going to huddle up every morning at 8:30. We're going to meet every Tuesday at 8:45 and have this meeting. And we're very disciplined about our process. And what happens is discipline to me creates creativity. And it's amazing when you put really capable people, give them a disciplined environment and allow them not to have to think about things like working in the business. See, we allow everybody to work on the business. We're actually doing an initiative now that's 60 days old where, just like Google, 20% of our time is spent working on the business. So every employee of mine goes out 1 day a week. They can't be in the office, and their goal, they have what we call a rock, which is a 60-day initiative. And they have to work on that rock. So they're finishing processes. They're doing better owner onboarding processes. But these are the people that need to be creating the business, not me.
What does rock stand for?
So rock comes from the whole idea of putting the big rocks in first. You've seen that analogy.
Yeah.
So that we're avid readers here. So that comes from the book Traction by Gino Wickman. And so if you want to know the rhythm of our business, you can simply, because we don't have any new ideas on how to run a business. We will literally go through and follow their traction model, verbatim. It tells you what meetings to run, when to run them. So it's an absolutely great book. And I tell people, if you're getting in business, in fact, my brother-in-law just started a business about 1.5 years ago. And I said, you have to read this book, Traction, because that's what's going to create the habits that end up creating your long-term success. And to me, success is just a byproduct of those habits.
So haven't read the book Traction, haven't followed EOS, but I can say firsthand that I know a number of entrepreneurs that use it as a reference Bible. I'm sure there are equivalent programs, but I'm thinking of at least one other massively large, successful company that is effectively a roll-up play, but was started on a local level, that also followed the same book and the same model. So I just want to go back to the point, though, that you're embracing a lot of disciplines that can be viewed as a hassle. and work. And in the absence of a vision of how you're going to actually benefit and get the harvest of this leverage opportunity, because the leverage is there, but you don't get the full fruit and reward until you're doing it at scale. You have the vision for how you get to scale. So as a result, you're more willing to embrace and commit to do these things that in the near term are painful, right? If you're just trying to fill one seat, if that's your vision, is just hiring one guy, fill in one seat, then everything you just talked about, it sounds like a kind of sort of a good idea, but it's also a big hassle. And maybe I'll just talk to my brothers, uncles, nephew, whoever, that's a good guy. So I'm with you on having the vision first.
Yeah. So I would say, please don't. I mean, again, this business is a flat out business. I mean, it is real estate agents that couldn't sell. It is house flippers like me that couldn't cut it, or the market changed. I mean, it is a business that has a lot of those people. And what I would say is we need to, if you want to be successful, you need to start attracting people that this industry doesn't necessarily attract. And that's part of
outside of the industry.
Having the vision. And what I would say to the person that has only, 2 or 3 employees, or maybe you're hiring your first employee, is if you're hiring your first employee, this person is going to be 50% of your company. Think about a decision of mine. We have 30 something employees, and I was about to add another 30 employees. I mean, how much time do you think I would invest in finding those 30 employees, because I'm doubling the size of my business? And I think that investing that time just makes sense. And I know we want people we can trust, and maybe your brother-in-law, you can trust him, but I'm telling you, going out and finding great people and then creating systems and processes. Jim Collins calls it freedom around a framework, and being able to say, hey, here's the framework we're running our business on, but we're going to give you tons of freedom because you're smarter than I am. For instance, we have a guy that works with us named Nick Goudreau. I mean, he understands automation. He understands IT. He understands things that we can do that I never even knew. And so if I was making that decision, you can only see how far we could get. You hire somebody else, you spend some time. I mean, we literally looked for a director of finance. We looked for, I would say we interviewed as many as 60 people to find one guy. On average, we interview somewhere between 20 and 25 people to find a new team member that we want to be a team leader in another market. So we invest just tons and tons of time. But once you invest that time, it's like it is an investment, because then you just turn them loose and they rock. And then you don't have to manage them. I mean, think about how much time you spend managing a poor employee. It's just, I can't tell you how important it is to find the right people. And as Jim Collins says, put them on the bus. Some people are saying they've lost audio. Can you hear me?
Oh, I had myself muted. Hey, good catch, guys. Thanks. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so what I was saying was, tell me about the back office infrastructure that you're going to need to build out to scale here. You just mentioned hiring. What effectively is a CFO? Talk to me about reporting, infrastructure. What might you be doing that your average property management company does not feel a lot of urgency around to be able to support your long-term vision?
Yeah, I would say the first thing is we've built a management team, or a leader, what Traction calls a leadership team. Again, if I was only managing in Birmingham and only planned on managing in Birmingham, you wouldn't need that extra layer. And obviously that costs money. I mean, you don't go hire a management team at rock bottom dollar. I mean, you want somebody that can scale the business. So and be willing to invest that money. I mean, as the owner of the business, you give up a ton of money to hire really capable people with the idea that it is investment, and you're going to need these folks to help you get from 1,500 to 10,000 to 25,000 houses. So I would say that's
who's on the team? Give me the seats.
Yeah, so we've got the director of marketing, Spencer, who I know you talked to and interviewed with.
Yep,
We've
smart
got
guy.
Phil Mazer, who's our director of finance, and then our Nashville team leader, Matt Lavelle, and then me.
What about in Chattanooga? Who's the team leader out there?
The team leader in Chattanooga is Matt Cox. And Matt Cox is a great story. You want to talk about finding great people. I mean, the guy's running our business in Chattanooga, and he moved up there when he was 27 years old. And he's doing an amazing job. He's an amazing leader. He's excited about the property management opportunity. He's excited about getting the opportunity to grow a business. I mean, what type of atmosphere can you put when you're 27? Can you go basically run a business? And so we're able to give him an opportunity to do that. So
you talked about this being painful, paying people a lot of money. You're thinning out your own margins. This is clearly not a lifestyle business. How much is too much money to pay yourself? I'm not asking you what you get paid, but if you're trying to do this, if you're trying to have the infrastructure, the management team, go big or go home, and you're not taking on outside capital, have you taken on outside capital to date?
No, we haven't. I mean, we've had those discussions, but we have not.
So in your opinion, what's the upper bound of what is sensible for a CEO? The reality is you wear different hats, but for a CEO to be paying themselves within this context, in your mind?
Yeah. So it's funny you asked that. I hope my wife's not listening, because she thinks it's whatever I say, it's double. Look, when I first started this business, I paid myself $3,000 a month, and did that for 2.5 years. And honestly, it wasn't because I was making $3,000 a month. I mean, I was going backwards by $3,000 a month, but I needed that to pay my bills. I felt like paid myself under market value. And I still think that I do.
So, and again, I'm not asking you what you pay yourself. I'm just asking you, what is the upper bound?
Not a number.
What's the upper, but give me a number. What is the upper bound in your mind? Give me a number to where of kind of the bottom of that upper bound of where you could say, clearly, this is a lifestyle business for you and you are not focused on maximizing growth. It's too rich of a salary.
I think, I don't know that I can give you a number, because obviously every market to me is different and cost of living is different. But what I would say is be fair to yourself, but also don't be greedy. I look at this as an investment. Like, I don't, whatever I can keep from taking home gets multiplied over and over and over again by keeping it in this business. I've consistently grown my income. And we look at my income and we talk about it as a team. I mean, my leadership team knows what I make. And we talk about it as a team. And they're good guys. I mean, they're kind of like, well, what do you think you should pay yourself? But I don't know that I can really pin a number, because everybody's business is so different. And I see somebody said, hey, a percentage of net profit. Again, if you're scaling a business, net profit is sometimes non-existent. So you can't really pay yourself a percentage of net profit, because basically all your cash is going to reinvest in people. I mean, we have to hire people faster than we actually need them. So you can imagine in our business, our people are our biggest expense every month. So you want to hire those, hire people faster than you need them when you're scaling. So, to me, it's not a percentage, and I'm not trying to skirt the question. I
get it, man. I get it. Fair enough. Let's keep moving here. We've got a lot of stuff to cover. So that back office model, what's the infrastructure? What your home office is in Birmingham, correct?
That's right.
So what is that Birmingham office going to do? What kind of support services are they going to provide to the other expansion offices? How's it going to work?
So we're pushing as much as we can virtually. We're just getting into the point now where whether somebody's in Chattanooga or Birmingham or Nashville, which is our 3 markets now, they're able to help out other people. So we're hiring a leasing person in Chattanooga right now to basically handle leasing for Chattanooga and Nashville. We are pushing as much as we can to the back office. So leasing is one of the first things that we were able to do, leasing and accounting. one of the things we're working on now is communications. So we have this challenge of, as everybody knows, everybody feels like a property manager, and this to me is kind of an old model, but the property manager needs to be in the market and know the house. But we've been communicating out of this office in Birmingham to our Birmingham clients, and some of the communicators have never seen any of these houses. So you don't really need to be in the same market. So we're working on, now we're very focused on communication remotely. Because we think communication is kind of a key with owners. It builds trust with owners, and when you're able to communicate quickly and accurately, owners really appreciate that. And so we think that we can do that, and again use our scale to communicate quickly and accurately to all of our markets. So I said leasing, accounting, communication. That's most of the business. We really feel like we're trying to divide this business. Traditionally, this business has been handled by, if you had a capable person, they were also handling very low return activities. For instance, you may have a property manager that runs out and puts a sign in the yard and hangs a lot box.
Yeah.
And I think what a waste of 30 or 40
of labor dollar.
Yeah. I mean, it's real money. And so we even created a position we call it a property management tech. And this tech is all windshield time. They're going and doing the things that a property manager would do on a normal basis.
This is music to my ears.
Yeah. So we've taken the property management position. And what I say is, hey, I want y'all working on high return things like if there's a huge issue with an owner, if there's a huge issue with a tenant, I don't want you worried about going and hanging a lot box. I want you focusing on solving that issue or working, again, getting back to working on the business. I would much rather have the brains that we've hired and done, focused on hiring, working on growing our systems and processes, managing more efficiently. And this PMT idea came out of one of our team members. I mean, this is not my idea. And so we've tried it and we've messed up and we've hired new people, but it's something that's really taken off, and it's something I would suggest people think about.
I love that. So I created a graphic at one point called the 9 box that basically is a view of value and skill associated with various tasks. And you basically just talk about segmenting your labor is what you're talking about.
100%.
Right
like
butt in the right chair.
Yeah. Like what is a, $12 to $15 an hour task, and what is a normal salaried, excellent property management task, and just breaking those apart.
Makes total sense. I'll try and upload that graphic of the 9 box in the chat later on. Talk to me about reporting. What has been the progression of your, the attention that you paid to reporting over time? What reports were you looking at early on? And what are the critical KPIs you're looking at now?
So we're on what we call scorecard 3.0. So we have changed. We've gone from 1.0 to 2.0 to 3.0. What we really think now is that there are kind of operational level scorecard items, and then there's management team level scorecard items. So but everybody can see all of them. It's just, hey, as a management team, what am I worried about? What Gino Wickman would say in Traction is, if you were stuck on a desert island and you could only get, 10 figures from your business on a weekly basis, how would you know whether your business is successful or not? So
he reduces it down to 10 numbers. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, he wants to get it as simple as possible, and he uses the number 10, I believe.
Okay.
So to speak to you, I mean, and we pull out of LeadSimple, we pull out how many leads we got that week. We talk about closed owners. We talk about number of houses available on the market. We talk about total number of occupied homes. And if I had to reduce our business down to like one key metric, like if you could only give me one number, I would say it's number of occupied homes. I think too many times, and I'm going to get on my soapbox in a minute, you can fool yourself in this business thinking you manage more than you do.
Doors. How many doors you got?
Yeah. And so we said, hey, let's just be really realistic about what we do manage. And so we started converting the number of doors managed to the number of occupied doors managed. And so it gives us a realistic view of what we're really managing.
All right, so give me a quick stat on that. What is the ratio of occupied versus managed? What percentage of doors that you manage are actually occupied?
I'm embarrassed to probably say this, but I will tell you, we're uncomfortably transparent around here. I was looking at this the other day, and we manage about 1,500 occupied doors, and we have about 500 vacant. Now, it's weird. There's this shadow inventory that I've always had that, you know, there obviously you have houses that you're trying to lease, and I think we're trying to lease, you know, 60 to 80 houses right now in all three markets. With gusts up to 120, I think, sometime during the summer. And then you have obviously houses that you're turning, but you, in this business, you have the shadow inventory too, that you're not sure. You may have an owner that's not reaching back out to you. You may have someone that's selling or fired you and moved to another property manager that you're still working through getting them out. So, I mean, that's our number. I mean, you probably have some people in here that think I'm an idiot or we're idiots for leaving that many in there. But I was literally looking at this figure the other day and thinking, you know, what is all that?
So talk to me about talk to me about at scale, 25,000 occupied units. Where do you expect that number to be at scale?
The shadow inventory?
Yeah, the ratio. What percentage? If you're managing 25,000, if you have 25,000 occupied units,
right? How many houses do we need to get to? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think the ratio is going to improve?
Numbers? Yeah. If you need, yeah, you would hope so, right? Or we'd get more efficient at doing things. I mean, I would say it's going to be north of 30,000 houses.
But specifically on the ratio, you're at 66%, so a third occupied. Do you expect that to go up to 80? Do you have any reference point for where you think that number should be at scale? Okay,
I don't.
Unclear. Figuring it out. Okay, so, but the bottom line is that if you were to stay at the current ratio of 66%, you have 25,000. Occupied doors. That means you have 33,000, roughly 33,000 doors under management overall. Okay, that makes sense. I'm tracking with you. So let's keep moving through reporting, man. What are the key stats? How frequently do you review reporting, and who do you review it with?
So we review this on a weekly basis. Okay.
Every week
at our level 10 meeting, which is again a Gino Wickman traction model. And I'm pulling up our scorecard right now to tell you.
Appreciate you doing that, man. Hey guys, this guy's getting transparent, man. Not everybody is willing to do this. I really appreciate it.
So our big ones with our team are applications per available house, percentage of maintenance hours billed, because we have our own maintenance company, work orders outstanding, work orders awaiting approval, leased houses, and leads. So operationally, that's what we look at on a weekly basis. Now, each market can dive in. Obviously, we keep as much data as possible, and we're actually going to ramp that up over the next 60 days. That's one of our rocks. So we keep as much data as possible. So somebody could dig into the why. But if we're throwing the numbers up on the scoreboard, I think of it like we're big football people here, mostly college. And at halftime, they always show you like the stats. And literally, if you could cover up the scores of the football game and just read the stats, somebody that's watched a little bit of football in their time will know who's winning that baseball or winning that football game. And so that's what we think of as a scorecard. So corporately, management team level, total number of houses, total number of grinder phone interviews every week, total number of grinder hires, number of trained team leaders, closing percentage, annual operating cash flow net of sales, how many of our to-dos. So this is another Gino Wickman traction thing. You know, what's our percentage of getting things done? Our to-dos are our weekly things that we assign to people. And we say, hey, you know, you need to go update this process at our weekly meeting. And then what percentage of that do we get done? And we want to see about 80% of those getting done. We rate every meeting. And so what is the score on the meeting on a scale of 1 to 10? How good of a meeting was it? And then cash availability. So those are our management team level on our scorecard 3.0.
Love it. And so every week, seat wise, what seats are a part of that meeting? It's just leadership, right?
Yeah, as well. Yeah. So the leadership team meets more often than not. We bring other people in when we're talking about something, Chattanooga based. It obviously makes sense for the Chattanooga team leader to be a part of it. We also have an operational meeting on Tuesday. So we have a leadership meeting on Friday, an operations type meeting that everybody's a part of on Tuesday, and everybody kind of logs in virtually for that. And everybody can drop down issues. I mean, we have an issues list of probably 50 or 60 things. And then Curran, who's our Birmingham team leader, will actually take that and organize it in the highest return thing. And we're not going to cover all 60. We're going to cover as many things, and we put them in order of importance. And we're going to cover as many things as we possibly can during that hour-and-a-half meeting. Again, all this is laid out in the book. I mean, this is nothing is a new thought.
Not reinventing the wheel. I love that you're pairing the vision with the practicality. You're going big with the vision, but you're not trying to reinvent the wheel on the day-to-day operations. You're using other systems and processes that you found modeled elsewhere. That makes a ton of sense to me. Let's just go back to the BHAG briefly and talk a little bit about unit economics. So making the assumption of 20,000 occupied doors, 25,000 occupied doors, that means 33,000 doors under management, roughly. Revenue goal of 75 million, correct?
Correct.
All right, so let's break this down to per door revenue on a monthly basis. What that breaks down to, and you feel free to double check my math, but on a monthly revenue per managed door, that looks like that's about $187. So normally, if you were to have somebody do the math and say, all right, what's your revenue per door? And they're looking at the overall number of units that they're managing. We see that number around float around $200. You're at around 187, close enough. So no wild assumptions there. That 75 million. Is the maintenance company reporting its revenue within your management company, or is it a separate business?
No, it's reporting within that. So that's a piece of that.
What percentage of that 75 million do you expect to come from maintenance revenue versus management revenue? Yeah, ballpark.
So right now it's about 35 to 40. So as we scaled, it's continued to be that. So 35 to 40%.
Okay, got it. So talk to me a little bit about running the maintenance side of things. This is something that when it comes up, a lot of people feel, there's the small number of people that do it and they're just like rabid. They'll tell you it's a cash machine. They're super excited. There's a lot of other people where it looks like a gigantic headache. Walk me through how you think about the maintenance piece, particularly the contribution to revenue, where strategically it fits in this BHAG.
Yeah, in our opinion, there's just a little more effort to do the maintenance company. And for that little more effort, you are making the margin that your third-party vendors are making. And with less control or with more control over what your team does. When we first started this, it was really more about creating control versus making more money. We wanted somebody we started with just one handyman. We wanted somebody that was kind of committed to our portfolio. When there was an emergency, they would kind of drop everything. And a lot of people have been able to find that in a third party. But to me, it's about creating consistency. And if you're going to create scale, that's not a scalable thing to me. Finding enough third parties that will drop everything to make sure that your portfolio is taken care of. So as we started to scale the business, we decided we need to take back control of something that is what keeps tenants in houses. And for all of us, if a tenant leaves a house, it creates more work for us. I mean, obviously people make leasing fees, but it creates more work for us. And that's also the time when owners traditionally leave you. And so when you keep a tenant in a house, what you're doing is basically keeping your revenue coming in, that monthly management fee coming in another month. And so maintenance is the reason that people leave. And so we're very focused on making sure that we get maintenance done really quickly. Now, this is hiring the right people in this business is super hard in maintenance, because housing is not, if you're a maintenance contractor, housing is not exactly where you commercial is kind of where it's sexy and you can tell people you're working on the X project. But here we pay our guys really well. They make as much money or more money than they could make elsewhere, but we take very good care of them, give them a truck, and we just want them focused on, because they're what they see, they're what the tenants see of our business. They're a great place for you to get reviews. There's no happier tenant than when they called in an air conditioning issue and you fixed it in the same morning that they called it in, and the air conditioning is blowing cold. There's nobody that'll give you a 5-star Google review faster than that tenant right then. And so our maintenance people just become a natural extension of our business. If you have a third-party vendor, he'll get around to it whenever he can. You may be at the top of his list and have control, but that's not a scalable business, in my opinion.
So the fact that you have the grinder and you're already comfortable making this deep commitment to having infrastructure around hiring, it's interesting because it seems to pay even bigger dividends with the maintenance side, where, like you said, the hiring challenge is even bigger. And so as a result, you're able to keep it closer to the vest. That makes a lot of sense to me. I want to move to talk a little bit about the growth piece. You are familiar with some of the other role plays that exist in the industry. And when you're talking about aggressive growth, acquisitions tends to pretty quickly come into that conversation. I know you've done a couple of acquisitions. Talk to me about how those went and whether or not that acquisition model is something that you will continue to scale, or whether or not you're going to ditch it in pursuit of going all organic as you pursue this scaled vision.
So great question. We've learned a lot. And when I say we've learned a lot, we've screwed a lot up is what the translation, acquiring these businesses in Chattanooga and Nashville. Listen, we've made a lot of mistakes. I mean, one of the great things about trying it out is you learn, and one of our core values is entrepreneurial spirit. So when we bought these businesses, we said, hey, let's don't be too hard on ourselves. We know we're going to screw it up. We need to make good decisions, and we've fallen on our face and hop back up, but we have a really good, we're very process oriented. We don't try to get too high or too low when we make what we call a legacy client mad. Acquisition is absolutely part of our game plan. We want to continue to acquire to move into other markets. We think that gives us scale in a market. What I tell people is it was a lot harder for me to grow from 0 to 300 houses than it was from 300 on. And so when we move into a market, it would be nice to kind of start with a business. And so, we're actively out there marketing to people, trying to buy their businesses. And one of the things about us buying people's businesses is we're operators. You said this at the beginning. We're not the Wall Street. I don't know all the lingo and all the jargon that Wall Street uses, but we're operators. And I think one of the things that the sellers appreciate about us is I've got tenants that still have my cell phone number. Miss Kathy Jackson still calls me at Christmas. She loves I've always given a gift card, and she wants that gift card every Christmas and wants to make sure that I do it. So again, I know what when these property managers are retiring, I know what they've been dealing with for 25, 30 years, and want to kind of build on that legacy and make some basically create something they can be proud of too, that they can be a part of what we're doing. You know, to me, when they got started, a lot of them would have been doing exactly what we're doing in this kind of roll up strategy, but the technology like LeadSimple didn't exist. So we're living in an awesome time where we have big, huge opportunities to go do things like this.
Wow, I love it. Hey man, this is really helpful. It's inspiring, it's motivating because it is so accessible. I have one more question for you, and then I got to turn it over to the audience because they have a lot of questions for you, and hopefully I don't know if they're going to give you a harder time than I did, but they do have a lot of questions. But my last question for you, you're clearly in it for the long term. You're playing the long game. We're going to see how that plays out 10 years from now. But what I want to know is today, right now, what are the seeds that you planted 10 years ago that are allowing you to do what you do now? What's the fruit that you're currently harvesting right now that came from the seeds that were planted a long time ago?
When I was kind of getting out of college, I became a reader, and I heard John Maxwell, who's written, you know, a ton of books, say he was telling about this experience he had with a 22-year-old, and I was about 22 at the time. And he said, you need to start reading today because you're not going to start seeing the fruits of reading for 10 years, and you might as well start that today. And so I am an avid reader. I read every day. We have the 25K Club, which is our leadership development team. We're reading books together. We're reading the 4-Hour Work Week, where Tim Ferriss is telling them how to get out of coming into work and telling them how to weasel their way out of and what to tell me when they're not there. I think that's a lot of fun. But we're constantly reading together and growing together. And what I would say is just reading. When somebody comes to work with us, we ask them to read 3 books. 2 of them I've mentioned so far. First one is Good to Great with Jim Collins. That is by far my favorite book. I read it at least once a year. I also will listen to it on audio, on Audible. The second thing is Gino Wickman's Traction book. Again, habits, creating what's the model you're going to run your business on. You know how to run property management, but how do you run your business? And I think he's done an excellent job of creating that framework. The other one is 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. This is another one of my favorite books. It talks about what creates healthy organizations. And I'm going to go back to Nick Goudreau, who we were in 25K Club. When you have an organization of people that will basically get mad and scream at the owner, he didn't scream, but he was very passionate about his position. And he was telling me I was wrong. And that is a healthy organization. And as you, as the owner, are humble enough to be able to take that. And the thing is, I respect Nick and respect everything that he's done for this business. He's super bright. And shoot, if he's saying I'm wrong, I mean, there's a good chance I am wrong. And so that's where we've learned that from the 5 Dysfunction. It's being able to debate an idea, debate over an issue or an idea versus debating over something personal. And it's about being able to have healthy conflict. And if you came to one of our meetings, you would think we're more at an MMA fight sometimes than a corporate kind of team meeting.
Passion, investment. I love it. Matt, with that, we're going to go through some questions from the audience. And the first question is from Derek DeGuire. What has fueled your growth? Has it been mostly from acquisitions? And Jason Bischoff modifies that. If it is through acquisitions, what are the 3 factors you use to identify companies you may want to acquire?
Yeah, so we've grown a lot through acquisition. Being transparent, and I think everybody's starting to feel this a little bit. I mean, and I call it growing organically, but when I say growing organically, it's through LeadSimple and generating leads and SEM, SEO. It's hard. I mean, we're doing a great job of growing right now, and what I call organically, but you're also losing owners to the sales market. Most of the country's the market's as hot as it feels like it was in 06 and 07 before the crash. We're in Nashville, which is just ridiculously hot. And so it's really hard to grow the business organically because you have this huge hole in the bottom of your cup right now. So I would say, when the wind was at our back, it was mostly growing, advertising, marketing, getting leads, adding them to our portfolio. And then we grow in big chunks when we acquire. When we're looking to acquire a company, the three biggest these three have changed and probably will change in once we do another one. But I think looking at how closely, to me, I'm just going to answer it with one. To me, it's looking how closely aligned their systems and processes are with what you're already doing. Like,
sure,
like the experience that the owner is going to have when you, for instance, in Nashville, we had a very hands-on owner. It was 200 houses. All of the owners and tenants had a cell phone number. I mean, he would answer the cell phone Sunday evening at 9 o'clock, and I'm just not doing that. And so taking them from where they were to a different experience, you're going to experience some attrition in those legacy owners, and you just need to be prepared for that. So we're willing to buy most any property management company. We just want to know, to us, the value comes out of, their use of technology, their use of systems and processes. Are they calling the owner's cell phone? Are they using LeadSimple? Are they using our management software? How hard is it going to be to convert it onto the GK way of doing business?
Awesome. Next question from Betsy W. Davis. I'm interested to know what the everyday focus is for GK now and what it was early on. When faced with challenges as a startup of sorts, what is the go-to focus for GK business?
So I think, and I'm going to answer this as the leader, and I'm going to answer this as like what you should be focusing your time on. If you want to scale your business, you cannot scale your business working in the business. And I know this is not a new thought. Michael Gerber, this is, it's not a new thought because it's a true thought. You need to be working on systems and processes and the ability to duplicate yourself. What I tell our team here is the highest paid team leaders will be the ones that can work themselves out of a job. And so we're very focused on duplication and being able to process out everything that we're doing. We about 6 or 8 months ago, we created our own process website where we're housing all of our processes. So literally we can teach people how to run any part of the business. But once you're able to create those processes, and you may start working on the business, 1 hour a week. I used to come in on Saturday mornings when this business kind of stops for a little while. And I used to literally go through and create processes that we would send. We use a lot of virtual assistants. I know somebody asked about that. We do use a lot of virtual assistants. But I would create a process that basically allowed me to turn that over next week to the virtual assistant, so I didn't have to do that again. And so you need to start creating. You can start with a little bit and just start moving beyond the business time. Even today, this is a practice that what I preach, I also practice. I'm logging my time. How much of my time am I working on the business? How much of my time am I spending working in the business? I think if you focus on that and hire good people that you can turn these processes over to, I think the business will naturally grow itself.
Great answer. Does your maintenance company work outside of your business?
No, we tried that. You get into a whole bunch of other things and you start getting your eye off the ball. I mean, we tried to work for other management companies and then they have needs and you feel like, well, which do I've got a plumber that can go fix one thing. Do we send them to this other management company or do we, use our own management company? And that just kind of got our eye off the ball. And if 25,000 houses is our goal, I mean, your goal may be to grow and maximize what you can do in your market. And then maybe that's an ancillary business that you like and you're only going to stay in one market. that's an ancillary business that you like, and you can go maximize that return. What we've decided is, hey, we want to grow this 25,000 houses. We're going to be hyper focused on it. And what we call that is chasing shiny things. We don't want to chase shiny things. We want to be dead set focused on the 25,000 house mark.
All goes back to the vision. Love it.
It does. Yeah. And that helps you answer questions like that too, because one of the great things about having some success is it creates opportunities. And so you get recognized. We were fortunate enough to be in the Inc. 5000. You get recognized with that. And then everybody sees that in Birmingham, and they want you to be a part of so many different things. And so we come back to what we call our VTO, our Vision Traction Organizer. And we say, what is the goal? This helps us make decisions. This is our North Star, so to speak.
Next question is from Lisa 4. What are your top 3 marketing strategies for generating new management leads?
I think it's about being accessible. This is a question I'm probably not going to answer. This is about, I'll give you a hint though, to give you a nugget. This is about marketing to the people, identifying the avatar of the person you want to buy, because I think that's very important. This goes into selling through LeadSimple. You want to identify what the person is that's going to give you a house. And what we're doing is identifying what the person looks like that wants to potentially sell their company, and then marketing in the best way you can to those people. For instance, if I was 70 years old and about to retire, I'm probably not going to get a LinkedIn in mail asking me to sell my company. That just doesn't make a lot of sense. And so what I would say is structure that so that the person on the other end can be receptive to how you're fishing.
Great answer. Avatars, which is a proxy for saying know who your buyer is, which is not an excuse or a dodge. If you do not know who you are selling to, you cannot cater your messaging to serve and to sell to those people. Love that answer. No point in getting into the weeds right now. Question from John Michaeldis. Can I get the title author of those books? Yes, we will include the links to all of the books that are mentioned during this interview afterwards. Question from Jason. What state's next? Yeah, what state's next? What market is next, man? Where you going? Bangkok, Thailand? What's next?
Advertise where we're looking, because one of the things we think hiring people is so important that if you go to our Gkhouses website, it says we're looking for 3 people. We're looking for the renter, we're looking for an owner that wants us to manage, and we're looking for team members. And that is front and center on our website. But if you go click on our looking for team members, and we tell team members everything, what it's like to work for GK, the things that people don't like about working for GK, the things that people do like working for GK. But one of the things on there is a map. And so we have about 30 different places that we've identified in the Midwest, Southeast, and then as far west as Salt Lake that we would like to be. And so we are going to go where the opportunity is, because now we've kind of dipped our toe in the water of Chattanooga. We've dipped our toe in the water of Nashville. I can drive there and take a day trip. That felt comfortable for us to get started. But now we're kind of like, hey, it could be Chattanooga or it could be Denver. It does not matter. What we're really looking for is an opportunity, like a platform business to purchase for us to move into those markets.
Awesome. Last question of the day from Stephen Haynes. Are you using any virtual assistants? If so, how does that work in your business?
Yeah, we use a ton of them. We're huge believers in them. We use virtual assistants in India, in the Philippines, and in Mexico. Here's what I would say. I would say this is a tremendous time to be able to use labor that is a lot cheaper in other places, and to get really great people working with your team. Like we have a guy named Henry in Mexico that is doing a lot of our tenant communication for us now. And this guy is an absolute all-star. I mean, he is killing it. He's been working with us for about 2 months. He's in on all our meetings. He's in on our huddles in the morning. I would even say over and above virtual assistants is just to rethink them and don't think of them as more of a third party, but think of them as more of an employee on your team. And what types of things can you integrate them in that allows them to feel part of what you're doing? I think it will allow you to keep them longer, keep them engaged. Once they get the culture of the company, their answers start to sound like the GK way. They'll understand why you're doing it. And then the only thing I would say about virtual assistants is this is something that you're thinking of. Pay a little bit more money to go with a company that will basically give you access to a team of them. First of all, that's scalable. As you grow, you don't want to just keep having to look for another one-off virtual assistant. The second thing is if they get sick or just go rogue, which we've made this mistake in a big way, you're not basically starting over from ground zero. You want to make sure that you basically empower a team that is kind of a long-term. You want to do the work one time. So
some great answers, man. I like how you approached it though, right? A lot of people approach VAs as just throwing a couple dollars at it, cheap labor. What I hear you saying is that the VAs are basically an extension of your already intentional philosophy of segmenting the labor. So rather than just rather than just starting it with cheap labor and trying to find stuff for them to do, you're basically saying you got the property management tech, for example. Well, what's a labor dollar below that doesn't require actually windshield time, et cetera? It makes sense. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up here. But Matt, I got to say a big thanks for taking the time to come here, to be open, transparent, to put a flag in the ground and to put yourself out there, man. A lot of people don't do that. We're going to be rooting for you. We're going to be watching your success over the long haul. Thanks again for coming in. We'll see you on the road.
Good. Thank you.
Take it easy, guys. Talk soon.